Dear America, and specifically New York, if the NYPD has actually found the shooter, jury nullification is a thing. The none so subtle sentiment expressed by brother Tom Hollyby, tactical trainer, denizen of the Pacific Northwest, and a very good friend of mine. Look, man, I get it. Feel how you want. We are in uncharted territory right now as regards not only the judicial system, but about payback. We are at a position where good people have had enough, and it is starting to manifest in ways that we cannot even anticipate. Let me address jury nullification for you really, really quickly, because you'd be surprised at how many people have never heard of the very concept. It was something that was put into place by the founders in our Constitution when they ordained our judicial system, that the jury could find and nullify any verdict, regardless of any factor, if they felt that the law or the application of a specific law to a specific individual was unjust. Literally, they can find someone the preponderance of evidence of which says is guilty of first degree murder and refuse to convict simply because they didn't see anything wrong with the killing. This is enshrined in our judiciary, boys and girls. I'm not making this up. Look it up. While you're looking things up, look up this fella. This is Brian Thompson, CEO of United Healthcare. Earlier this week, broad daylight in the streets of New York City, he was shot and killed in what initially appeared to be a professional hit. And I got to have some accountability here. I bought into the pro hit thing first. That was the thing that made most sense to me. But now it's looking more and more like a John Q gone bad. The NYPD has arrested a suspect, Luigi Mangione, who is either a mob hitter or a video game character. I'm not really sure. No, I shouldn't even make fun or try to make light of it. This is a picture of him without the mask and a picture of him to the left actually performing the act. Again, this is all alleged right now. Now, keep in mind, they appear to have him dead to rights. Allegedly, when they found him, he had material tying him directly, including the murder weapon. But under jury nullification, as Tom Hollyby pointed out, a jury could listen to the full testimony against Mr. Mangione and decide that Brian Thompson was just that loathsome. The actions that he took that impersonal and that cold and resulted in the deaths of countless, untold hundreds, even thousands out of sheer corporate callousness, and decide that this guy, in the grand scheme of things, didn't really do anything wrong and find him not guilty. A lot of people are having trouble getting their heads around that concept, and I totally get it. I totally do. But let's factor in what else happened in New York this week. Daniel Penny. This man, I'm going to go ahead and say it. It does call for some slight speculation because nobody knows how far the scumbag in question would have gone. But there was a homeless crackhead threatening people on the subway, getting physical, so much so that a mother had to barricade her child behind its own stroller and her body to keep this guy away as the guy screamed, "I'm going to kill you. I'm not afraid of going to jail. I'll kill every one of you." And I'll spare you the whole tirade. You can find it online. Daniel Penny, being a Marine, because there's no such thing as an ex-Marine, stepped up, grabbed the crackhead in question, executed a rear naked choke, and put him on the floor. Now, keep in mind, Neely was on the floor, the crackhead in question. Neely was on the floor and still breathing. Cops showed up, and he continued to have a pulse for 15 to 20 minutes, and police that arrived on the scene refused to give CPR or mouth-to-mouth resuscitation because the guy was too filthy. But no, they're going to put it on Daniel Penny because he stepped up rather than being a victim. And victimhood is a virtue now. Didn't you know, white boy, you were supposed to just sit there and let these bad things happen? Penny wasn't buying it. Good on him. He put the guy in a rear naked choke, laid him out, ended the violent incident. The jury today found the man not guilty. God bless him. With an angry mob outside calling for his head and the heads of the jurors, the jury found not guilty. Now, while this isn't jury nullification per se, what it amounted to was a double middle finger to the prosecutor and the DA. Because the prosecutor and the DA, when the jury initially hung on the first count, pressured them to ignore that one and find him guilty on a subsequent count of criminal negligence just so they could secure a conviction. The jury wasn't having it. Initially, the jury was taking its time and deliberating, but the minute the pressure came down, the jury responded immediately, and their response was a resounding no, much to the chagrin of this prosecutor. Yeah, this is the prosecutor that tried to put Penny away for 18 years for having the temerity to defend innocent people from scumbags. This is a woman who has turned loose hundreds, by the way, hundreds of violent felons with pre-existing bonds out already on their personal recognizance, turn them loose again on PR bonds to go out and reoffend. One thing that those other felons don't have in common with Daniel Penny, I'm sure you can do the math on what it is. And let's not forget, this is all at root in Alvin Bragg. Alvin Bragg, we're going to do a deeper dive on him later in the program. But suffices to say right now that this is a Manhattan DA that downgraded 60% of violent felony cases to lesser charges just this year. 60% of felony cases. Oh, but those were criminal violent felonies with innocent people getting hurt, not with a person defending innocent people from getting hurt. How have we gotten this turned around? We can ponder that as long as we'd like. But the fact is, we have gotten this turned around, and good people have had enough. And the good people of the jury have had so much enough that they exercised what amounted to jury nullification. Now, you could take issue with my observation, but I think we're in the same ballpark. You're going to pressure us to convict an innocent man? Screw yourself. We won't do it. The people in the highest levels of power that are doing it, and here we have an instance where it was just a street level crackhead hurting innocent people, and somebody stepped up to save him. Here, we have a high level CEO of a company whose very business model necessitates denying health care to people that need it. Who knows how many thousands may have died on this man's watch? Now, that isn't a statement against capitalism. That's a statement against crony capitalism, because prior to the Obama administration, we had an option. If we didn't like the way an insurance company did business, we didn't have to get insurance. We could go and wing it ourselves for health care. But now, in spite of this business model and the thousands of people that it kills every year, we are compelled to purchase their product. Government working in hand with corporations. There's a word for that. Starts with an F. Help me out. I'm old. I forget things. You know, it gets deeper with regard to the healthcare industry. This report came out earlier this week about how corporations working with officials in the government, like maybe this guy or Peter Hotez, actively covered up the origins of COVID-19 and the damages caused by vaccines. You don't think they're going to be on the next list of potential hitters for these John Q's gone bad. And then let's look at officials within the government themselves. Alejandro Mayorkas, how many thousands of people died within the boundaries of the United States because of his border policy and continue to die? Victoria Nuland, how many millions died in Ukraine because of her policy? How many bodies are on the conscience and policy of every single member of the cabinet for this regime? And what do all these people have in common? This person, and these 6 are already seeking preemptive pardons. The judiciary system won't be able to hold them to account in the same way that the judicial system couldn't hold this man to account. What do they suppose is going to happen? I mean, God forbid somebody figure out the CEO of Pfizer and all the damages that his vaccines caused. I mean, I'm certainly not saying that someone should, lay him out on a public street in broad daylight. That's a terrible thought. I'm just saying, let's hope that nobody figures out how many thousands of deaths this person's responsible for, because, God forbid the same thing that happened to this guy. It would just be a terrible, terrible thing. Look, man, Frederick Douglass said a man's rights rest in 3 boxes: the ballot box, the jury box, and the cartridge box. What you have at play here, in the case of Brian Thompson, is a potential for the jury box to hold up after somebody else already stepped to the cartridge box. That may be an isolated incident for now, but it won't be for long if we continue business as usual. The ballot box spoke in November. If that does not get people the satisfaction that they seek, decent human beings, the satisfaction that they seek against these dark powers, you can expect more use of the cartridge box and more councils of 12 nullifying from the jury box. Garen White once said, never push a nice guy. Nice guys turn into the scariest sons of bitches when you push them too far. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that the majority of mainstream Americans are those nice guys. They just want to live. They just want to be left alone. When they pay for insurance and then get sick, they expect the insurance to be there for them. When they trust a doctor, they expect the doctor is going to tell them the truth. When they put their faith in government officials, they expect that the policies handed down by those officials won't wind up in their children being raped, killed, butchered, and mutilated. So there are a whole lot of those nice guys out there who are being repeatedly disappointed, systematically. And they are turning into those scary sons of bitches. Going forward, we may get the opportunity to see how that jury box works in nullifying the results after somebody else has already stepped to the cartridge box. God forbid that the world has come to that. Lament that if you must. Feel about it however you will. But if that is the world that we're living in, I postulate to you that good and decent people should neither deny nor shrink from it. One way or the other, good will win. How much blood they want shed in the interim is a decision for them to make. The opinions expressed by the Reverend are his own and no one else's on the planet. Not friends, not foes, not supporters, not detractors, not sponsors, and I should stress this, Certainly not employers, because I'm about to have another one. That one's strictly for the sake of you Docs Happy Antifa maggots out there. These opinions, the aforementioned opinions, have been adjudicated thought crime in all jurisdictions. Consider yourself warned. They are coming from the heart. They are guided by the mind. They are guaranteed to stretch open that unwilling maw and choke you to death if necessary with a fistful of truth cock. Welcome back, boys and girls. Time once again for the sermon. Whoa, man, I'm having all kinds of difficulties out here. Things going south on me, man. Glad you guys are patient. Glad you got to give me a chance to start this thing over. Hopefully the sound quality is there. We're about to find out in a minute. Right now, let's find out where the energy is. Everybody in for the drum roll. Little bit of a restart. But we're coming back out of the starting gate, as we always do. The band Red Desert, gut-stomping rock and roll band from Minneapolis, Minnesota. The smoldering embers and crumbling ruins of the once great American city of Minneapolis, Minnesota. Name of the band is Red Desert. Name of the track is Older No Wiser. Every week I get a little bit older every week. You guys get to decide if I have gotten any wiser. Some weeks I do better than others. This was going to be a whole different program, man. But a couple of things happened today, so we're retooling it, and now we're having to start all over again from scratch. That's totally all right. It's cool. Brother Clem on board, my favorite Frenchman, my brother in Christ, my brother in arms, my brother. Good to see you here, Clem. Speaking of brothers in arms and brothers in Christ, the mighty, mighty Stone. No rubber banding. I like that. I like the sound of it. Deacon Mark on board. Sound is good. Glad to hear that. Hope you and Ida are settled in with smokable tobacco products and a couple of adult sodas on the back porch and enjoying it. Tom, you're here. Hey, man, I opened with your quote, brother. I opened with your quote because it's a thing. We're going to be addressing that more and more as we get deeper into the program. Definitely not a pro hit. I know whoever put that in first thing about suppressed views. Well, every shot was a malfunction if we're looking at what we think we're looking at. So there's a couple of things involved there as well. The theory behind that veterinary pistol actually has legs. My point is, I'm not going to form a hard opinion on it. I've got opinions based on the information that we have, but I'm not really going to lay down a hard opinion on it until we get 100% of what's going on, because we all know the official story is going to be full of holes, and there's still a lot of irregularities here. But in any case, glad you're on board, Mike. Let me see. Who else we got? We had a couple more folks before the break. Maybe they're finding their way back to the program. It's not a big deal. Let them take their time. I have personal experience with UHC denying my wife's claim for over $30,000 related to her heart attack. Yes. Mike, I have someone very, very close to me who had a number of neurological symptoms manifest after the Pfizer jab. I have other people that are close to me that have had experiences with long-term remission cancers coming back after the Pfizer jab. So I understand the fury with healthcare companies. I really do. We're going to cover all of that. Insurance used to be like your cell phone plan, dropping when they suck. Right. Now you can't do it. And imagine what it's going to be if it ever went to single payer. We're getting to see that play out in every leftist-run country in the world right now. I'm going to go ahead and fade out the bumper music, man. We all know how things are going, and looks like we've got on board whoever's going to be on board. I was hoping Bone was going to make it back because it was good to see him on board. I hadn't seen Bone for a minute. David was on board too. Maybe they'll find their way back, and that's cool. Hopefully they do. But anyway, yeah, having to do the restart. It's just a hiccup that happens from time to time, and only on the Mac Tower. It does never seem to do that when I'm on the road and I'm doing the sermon from that military laptop that I use. But for whatever reason, something in this old Mac Tower, and I wish I could show you guys. Well, actually, I can. I can kind of turn it this way, give you a little more look at the. This is one of those old cheese grater, Mac Pro towers from way, way, way back in the day, and that's what I run on when I'm here in the here at the Bart Bunker doing the sermon. That's what I'm running off of when I'm on the road. I'm doing it on a mil-spec laptop that goes with me everywhere. It's basically my zombie-proof laptop. Anyway, man, we'll bypass all of that stuff. Let me get my sponsor shout outs out of the way real quick. I don't know if Roman and Carrie are going to make it this week. I think they've got some family things going on, but I do want to give them a shout out, man. Roman is one of my oldest and dearest friends. You can check them out at opiumtales.com. They are the yes, Bone. Glad you made it back, brother. Glad you made it back. We were just talking about that. I was like, man, we lost Bone. He was here, and then I'm glad you made it back. Opiumtales.com. They are the erotic pinups and portraits people. Brother Roman is one of my oldest and dearest friends. We go all the way back to 1988. He's been a supporter of every endeavor that I've ever held, up to and including this program. Beautiful watercolors of beautiful naked women, and you punctuate all that with testosterone-driven commentary, and you have a winner. You have a trifecta on Planet Bart. So go check him out. He's also got 2 books out now. He's got Roman Freely, which is a collection of his work, and he's got From Dork to Pimp Daddy, which is basically talking about his journey as just, Joe Schlub tech guy doing watercolor stuff on the side. Now someone who gets paid for the privilege of, painting beautiful naked women. It's good work if you can get it. And I've got to thank my Viking brothers, Casey and Dusty Tellison, over at Nordic Smoke Barbecue, the only legit barbecue in the inland Northwest, period, end of statement, done. What about, sit down, shut up, you're wrong. The Viking Longship smoker trailer is out sailing the asphalt seas. They're doing catering gigs. They are setting up in different places, and things are going really, really well for my Viking brothers, and I'm really happy to see them prospering. And it was a pleasure for the 10th year in a row to enjoy a holiday bird smoked by the Nordic Smoke crew. Just a fantastic thing all the way around. So, happy to have him on board, and check out one of the Viking brothers, Casey. He is a combat vet, and he's got a book out as well, published by Latop Press out of Spokane, Washington. All of these are available on Amazon. Casey's book is Freaks of a Feather. It is a combat memoir that started out as a suicide note. And that should be all that I should need to say about that. He is an incredibly gifted writer. He is as gifted a writer as Dusty is a pitmaster. Those guys are fantastic. They've been very good friends of mine pretty much since I've been here, starting back in 2013. They're fantastic people. They make fantastic products. So get out and support the people. Take care of the people that are taking care of the show. Let's jump in here, shall we? Let me get a little more liquid enthusiasm here. These guys are not sponsors of the program. But the Battle Bottle is a great product, and I like to give them a shout out whenever I pick up the damn thing to drink out of it, because it's just been an incredible thing. I've been kicking the hell out of this thing for four or 5 years now, just beating this thing to death on construction sites and everywhere else, man. But it takes a licking and keeps on ticking, man. It's got a spot for your cell phone, it's got a spot for your wallet, it's got a clamp for your keys. So instead of having to drag a big gym bag around everywhere when I decide to go work out, I just throw everything in the Battle Bottle, and I've got my branched chain amino acids and all that good stuff. I got my rocket fuel, and I'm good to go. So, weekly reminder, we need a Bartosphere gathering in 2025. Clem, it is an honor to be so highly thought of. It is absolutely an honor to be so highly thought of, and I would love to see every one of you guys in real life as well. I had plans on making it happen this year around getting my skydiving A license back. God had other plans, and some things got shifted around. But going into 2025, things are really fantastic. Charlie is here full time. We're doing things for the house. We are doing things for the future. We're getting things lined up and in order, and it's all just really, really fantastic. And I would love very much to have a Bartosphere gathering in 2025. So let's get into it, shall we? The first bullet point that I had, we're not going totally off base because I had planned on reflecting some on that hit on the United Healthcare CEO. I want to say right off the bat, I'm not, let me say firstly, I'm still, everything that I'm stating right now is nothing but an opinion which is still being shaped. Everything that I'm stating right now is 90% speculation, besides the stuff that has already been confirmed, for the sake of discussion. There's still a lot about this that, and I'm not going to go tinfoil hat about it. I'm not going to go, I'm not going to be like the Aaron Tynes of the world where this is all like orchestrated and Manchurian Candidate and this and that. Initially, it looked like a pro hit, and that would have made sense to me as well. Um, it would have made a hell of a lot more sense to me than what we found out immediately afterwards, which is what shook me off of that. And that's that you have a CEO from one of the most hated companies in one of the most hated industries in the United States of America walking without so much as a single bodyguard in broad daylight in New York City. A New York City that Alvin Bragg has rendered completely uninhabitable. It's unreal. I had difficulty getting my head around it. Everybody's got their thoughts on the man. Everybody's got their thoughts on the industry. Nuance is dead, so it's fallen on it's fallen into pretty much black and white circles here as to how people feel about it. What I am seeing, and I'm encouraged by this, and if it makes me a bad person, I'm just going to have to own that. Allegedly, the person that shot him, this Luigi guy that right now is like their top suspect, apparently is a hard anti-capitalist, right? Wacky left of center lunatic fringe type guy. These are all the reports that I've heard so far, but again, this is all still taking shape, and I think it's interesting to see that just as many of my conservative leaning friends are waving the pom poms and cheerleading for this guy as the people on the left. Not because my right-leaning friends are anti-capitalist. I mean, we got Clem here, we got Bone, we got Stone, we got Tom. These aren't anti-capitalist people. These guys are good, red-blooded American capitalists. But scumbag is scumbag. Okay, if the guy would have had a manifesto to say, or if he would have needed a manifesto to say, this is a strike against capitalism and capitalism's effects on the poor and the innocent who are compelled to, it's like, okay, great. Maybe in his head it is an indictment of capitalism, right? But this isn't capitalism, bro. I hate to throw your own stuff back at you because what do they always say? That wasn't real communism, bro. Dude, this isn't real capitalism. When the government compels you to buy a consumer product, right? When the government mandates that you buy insurance, we're no longer talking about capitalism, are we? No, hey, Jude, you're not jumping in late, bro. We had to do a restart, so we're barely 20 minutes in right now. This isn't capitalism, man. This is corporations flexing through their government stooges to compel people to buy a product that they no longer have to deliver. You understand that before the Affordable Care Act, I don't want to call it Obamacare because I don't even want the illusion that I'm being partisan, but okay, yeah, Obamacare, since that's how they thump their chest about it, the Affordable Care Act. All right, it's Obamacare. Before Obamacare, as Tom was just saying. Before that, you could just drop it. If they suck, it's like your cell phone plan. You just go to another provider. Now, different ball game. Can you drop your insurance company? Yeah. Good luck getting on board with another one. What if you're halfway to your deductible for the year and then you find out that they're really not paying for squat? Premiums have gone up and service levels have gone down. Exactly the opposite of what they promised us and exactly in line with what we warned you was going to happen. But of course, the mulatto messiah could do no wrong. And of course, Darth Cheeto, the Mango Menace, is a horrible, horrible person for trying to get back to things actually working, to companies being held accountable, to insurance companies being held accountable, to providing what they ask for. The whole business model of insurance is terminally flawed. It really is, man. When you think about how this works, and particularly now that they are required, and again, not to defend the insurance companies, but let's look at the flip side of that. We are told that we have to buy their product. As a result of that, they are told that they have to cover pre-existing conditions and this thing and that thing and the other thing that previously they would not have covered. Why would they not have covered it? Because it's stupid business. So now they have to jack the prices up to have continued profitability for the shareholders. They have to do, and I am not justifying either the industry or Thompson in particular or his company. These people are vile. They're vile freaking filth. And I think the fact that so many people on the right are cheerleading for this guy taking falling down the flight of stairs onto some bullets. That's what I saw. I don't know. He fell down a flight of stairs onto some bullets. Anyway, the fact that I've got so many right-leaning friends that are feeling exactly the same way about it. But yeah, okay, bad guy. Somebody disappointed with this. Again, if this is what it turns out being. Again, everything that I'm saying right now, speculation and opinion, because we don't have anything locked in right now. Maybe we are supposed to cheerlead for this guy, and he actually is working with a support network, and he's not John Q gone bad. We don't know. Based on what we know right now, just as many people on the right as on the left, because what they are seeing is a decent human being that probably had a relative die. He had had enough. He took matters into his own hands. We all know there's no recourse within the judicial system right now, particularly for these corporations. What? Oh, you think any Pfizer executives are going to prison over vaccine damage cases? The government, and hopefully with Trump in the White House, because I'm hearing noises they're talking about repealing that, the Vaccine Producers Immunity Act, where basically pharmaceutical companies can't be sued if a vaccine product that they manufacture causes massive harm to public health. Again, it's the same thing that we have with the insurance industry. Government forcing you to do something and forbidding you from having any recourse when that something goes wrong. Eventually, people say enough. And we're at that crossroads right now. We really are. And it's something that we need to reflect on, not just for the pharmaceutical industry, but for government agencies themselves. Yes, it seems like I'm oversimplifying when I'm talking about we're just in a position where good people have had enough, but how else would you articulate it? How else would you articulate it? And getting back to that Frederick Douglass quote, and you've heard me use a version of that quote on here before. I include the soapbox, but the ballot box, the jury box, and the cartridge box. We were getting to a point where we no longer felt, and I've done whole sermons on this, where we no longer felt that we had any recourse through the ballot box. Thankfully, that pivoted in early November. We'll see what they do with it. That was probably one of the few things backing even more people off the brink, because if we keep going business as usual, you are going to see a lot more of this. Jury nullification is a thing, right? And juries have had enough. Good people, juries are made up of what? People. And a lot of these people are good people, and they've had enough. How do you think that Daniel Penny jury felt, man? Those people ride the subway. Those people see what's going on every single day. They feel powerless. There's nothing that they can do. The cops won't protect them. When somebody does get arrested and taken in, the DA refuses to prosecute. Prosecutors and DAs turning people loose on PR bonds. Illegals. Half dozen illegals beat up two cops in the middle of the street in New York City, and they're turned loose on PR bonds. And Daniel Penny not only gets charged, they hold him $100,000 bail. Whatever could it be that is the difference? No matter what hoops they jump through, no matter what intellectual gymnastics they push and try to gaslight, people are seeing it for what it is now. And the establishment is getting more and more desperate because people are seeing that the emperor is naked. People aren't going to sit there and act like it's a beautiful robe that the emperor is wearing. The emperor is wearing no clothes, and people are refusing to play the game anymore. I don't know what to do with that. Outside the Daniel Penny courtroom, outside of the courthouse, rather, where Daniel Penny was being tried, there was a violent mob gathered. A violent mob of BLM and Antifa demanding justice. Jordan Neely got justice, as far as I'm concerned. And the jury ultimately saw it the same way, but ponder that for a minute. An angry mob coordinated by who? This wasn't a grassroots effort. Nothing BLM or Antifa do is grassroots. So you've got an angry mob outside the courthouse basically demanding that they follow the judge's dictates, and all but threatening reprisals against the jury if they don't do the will of the mob. I've always thought of myself and tried to carry myself as a right-leaning, small L libertarian. Ron Paul 2012, that kind of small L libertarian. But the state of the nation right now has brought out my inner Chuck Bronson. I can't, in good conscience, endorse this kind of behavior, but I'm certainly not losing any sleep over it. I'm not. Glad you're here, Sonny. The system pushes submission, false God, the God of government. That's why criminals are let go, and those who punch back at criminals, they try to sacrifice. Absolutely. And that is the only lens that this makes sense through. They want people demoralized, dehumanized, to where they beg the government to pull them out of the hole. A hole that the government itself created. Funny how that works. I remain convinced that the tide has turned, that we've hit a tipping point. I think that what happened on November 5th was the best sign of that we've had in a long time. It's not going to solve everything. That's the mistake that too many people are making with this. Oh, Trump's elected now, everything's going to be better. No, not yet. Because you've still got these people who are pushing. You've still got these people who are entrenched. And you're going to hear them shrieking. I believe that things are going to move forward, particularly with Doge. I think you got Vivek and Elon that are just going to start cutting heads. These federal bureaucrats and these entire agencies that have basically been the de facto rulers prior to Chevron decision being overturned. Another great move from SCOTUS. And if you haven't looked into that, you should. These are regulations. Nobody voted for these people. Nobody voted for these laws in a lot of these cases. This is going to be a cleansing of sorts. And the existing regime and everybody who sucks at that teat, they're going to fight it. You guys remember from The Matrix, right? Morpheus is walking Neo down the street, and he was like, you have to remember that, until then, they are the enemy. Why are they the enemy? Because of something done? No, because they are so hopelessly inured to the system that they will fight to protect it. Useful idiots. You have professionally coordinated efforts like BLM and Antifa in this case. That when the people do get a little uppity and say, no, man, we're not going to live in fear anymore. We're going to do something about this to try to scare them back into their holes. And it's not enough. It was enough in Minneapolis. It was enough in Minneapolis when they put on trial the officers who were present for George Floyd's death. Notice I said present, not responsible. The jury looked at the facts of the case. And they carried things out for a long time. But they were terrified. Supreme Court justices were terrified in 2020 because they saw it for what it was. But they didn't want that on their hands. They were not going to wade into that minefield and call it what it obviously was, with all the chaos that could have come with that. They were not going to take that chance in 2020. The jury for the Minneapolis police officers, they were not going to take that chance back then. It's tipped. It's tipped. Right. No, I completely agree, and I hope that wasn't how I came off. Most folks do not get that. Yeah, they just want to simulate these commies. Yeah, the useful idiots. The commies are fools. They're cannon fodder. Their puppet masters are not. They are far from it. Exactly. That's why these angry mobs, grassroots angry mobs that are coming in on buses that are paid for by BLM. All of this is coordinated. That doesn't mean that everybody who is demonstrating is part of the great conglomerate network. Most of those people are rank and file. They're just going along with what their misguided heads and hearts are telling them is going to make a better world. They hear the glowing box tell them that Daniel Penny is a racist vigilante, and they go, Daniel Penny is a racist vigilante. Racism is bad. Racism is bad. Diversity is our strength. Diversity is our strength. BLM, Black Lives Matter. And they go. People are coordinating this. These are the same people that have caused every single problem that we are currently trying to remedy through those three boxes, primarily through those three boxes, so we won't have to get to the fourth. Soapbox, Elon gave us back the soapbox. Elon gave us back the soapbox. The jury box is leaning now. Kyle Rittenhouse, not guilty. Daniel Penny, not guilty. Plenty more coming down the pike, not guilty. They lost at the ballot box. They no longer controlled the soapbox. The jury box is getting away from them. And I think a big push to awaken people to the possibilities for jury nullification is in order here. That's something we need to put a big push on for, I hate raise awareness. That term just makes me retch. But raising awareness of jury nullification in cases like this, brother, look, if the system is not going to lay down the law, when people see that judiciary system, that judicial system that they count on for justice, ignoring these horrible things that go on, these murderers running the streets, illegal immigrants jumping and beating the hell out of cops, wide open borders, fentanyl trafficking, Venezuelan gangs taking over apartment complexes. They see prosecutors, what? Oh, I don't see anything going on. And then you have one man step up and do something right to save people from harm, and they see that same judicial system light in on him. No amount of gaslighting is going to prevent a thinking human being from seeing what's going on here. The baffling part to me is that there are still people out there that seem to think that's a good thing. That seem to think that's a good thing, that the judiciary is going after a guy like Daniel Penny because and we know what it comes down to. Look, man, I'm going to say it. We know what it comes down to. Equity-based sentencing. They want to see the criminals go free because they share a skin tone. And they want to see the white guy go down because they don't share a skin tone with him. Literally is just that simple. I said what I said. Bring it. The road to hell is paved with good intentions. That's how I feel about these good-hearted people who are NPC for the left. I get it, brother. I get it. One of the things that I'm most thankful for about my wife, Charlie, my wife, Charlie, is a liberal in the classic sense. What she's not is a Pollyanna. She's not an NPC. When it comes down to cases like Daniel Penny, she has no issues calling it out, but there are so many out there for whom it's an article of faith for these people. If it is a leftist cause, then we will follow it to the end. We do not vary from the orthodoxy. And these are the same people that make fun of religion, oddly enough. Hard to say. But what I will tell you is, yeah, you're going to see a lot more. You're going to see a lot more Daniel Pennies, right? Alvin Bragg needed Penny to be found guilty. That prosecutor needed Penny to be found guilty because that's the only thing keeping New Yorkers down right now. I really, really feel that. You're already starting to see the pushback. Even in bleeding heart liberal New York, you're already seeing the pushback. People are getting to see the results of all the illegals being there. People are getting to see that illegals are being treated better than our own citizens. They're getting to see that they're just trying to make a living and they're having to step through all kinds of hoops while they're taking tax money away from these people that are earning that living and giving it to people who don't even belong here. They are seeing the results of what they've asked for all this time. We want to be a sanctuary city. No hate, no fear. Refugees are welcome here. Until it happens. The judicial system should really take race into account because these are historically marginalized and oppressed people. So we need to have like equity based sentencing, and we need to like abolish cash bail because these poor downtrodden people, yada, yada, yada. Until it happens. Now they're getting to see the results of it. Bragg needed Penny convicted. That prosecutor needed Penny convicted. And what did the jury say? No. When they saw that things were going bad, they pulled the first count because the jury was hung on it. And basically came at the jury, not verbatim, but the whole vibe they came at the jury with was, all right, look, man, we're pulling this off the table, but you better find him guilty of this negligence thing. We're getting a little tired of you guys jerking around with our process here. How about you just chop, and give us that guilty verdict so we can all go home? And the jury said, oh, that's how you feel about it. Not guilty. Now we can all go home. Those shockwaves are hitting people because once one case cracks, people realize that they don't have to be afraid anymore. Do you understand what I'm saying? You turn Kyle Rittenhouse loose, you realize that bad people can't just run roughshod anymore. You turn Daniel Penny loose, you realize that even in New York City, bad people just can't run roughshod anymore. So what do you think is eventually going to happen to the people higher up on the echelon that have enabled this? What do you think is going to happen to them? You think it's bad? You think it's bad what Daniel Penny did to that Neely crackhead? What do you think is going to happen when people figure out who enabled that Neely crackhead to have such a wide open throw at innocent people on a subway? When that finally clicks in their head. Oh, you think it's bad that the CEO of United Healthcare got smoked in broad daylight by a guy who's, and again, speculating, by a guy who lost a family member to an unscrupulous insurance company? What do you think is going to happen when people start really figuring that out? What other companies are doing these things, who their CEOs are, and which government officials enabled them. So for all the hemming and hawing and, oh, look at the sanctimonious tears about all the head cutting that the Trump administration is getting ready to pull, getting rid of departments, getting rid of policy heads that aren't working, that have actively created these problems. Instead of your sanctimonious lachrymosity, that's my college word. I got like 3 of those. Instead of the sanctimonious lachrymosity, which is basically a sesquipedalian way of saying crocodile tears. I'll wait for you to Google all that. Instead of the sanctimonious lachrymosity, how about you just be thankful that he's yanking them out of the way and chucking out the bad policies and the waste of money and the human suffering that is coming as a result of the malfeasance in these departments, instead of letting it play out. Because now that we're past the tipping point, we see that people are ready to put bullets in these guys. Am I saying that's a good thing? Far from it. No one who has seen, tasted, felt, smelled the results of violence up close legitimately desires that outcome. I'm not waving the pom-poms. I'm not patting this Luigi cat on the back. I don't even like his politics personally. If he did suffer a personal loss, I sympathize with his loss. I'm not cheerleading what happened. I'm merely observing that this is what you can expect to happen. How long do you expect decent human beings to tolerate an abject level of getting fisted? Metaphorically speaking. We're already way past the sell-by date, my friend. Decades of this. And how did it go for so long? Two reasons. Number one was cowardice. Because a lot of us hung back. We didn't want to take personal risk here. But all of the programs that they had in place to demoralize us were working because of that cowardice. One evil hand washing the other. I don't want to get involved because I saw the other guy got involved and he saved that lady's life, but now he's in prison and I got a family to think of. I want to go to the demonstration, man. Like I want to show Antifa and BLM that I want to show those guys that they're really not in the majority and that there are people that disagree with them and aren't afraid of them. But dude, the last time like a whole bunch of people got their heads split and like buildings got burned down and the government like dropped all the charges, I just don't know if I want to risk it, man. And for all of you who have said that and may still be saying it, look, man, I'm not judging you, bro. Once upon a time, yeah, I'm not judging you, man. I understand. You are looking at very real ramifications of loss. These people got to skate. These people could walk between the raindrops. If you were black or brown and a violent felon in New York City, you could skate. You didn't have a care in the world. Do whatever you want. And even assuming you get caught, you will be released on your own recognizance, up to and including anything short of murder. Steal, sell dope, do dope, break into houses, rape that hot chick next door, or that 78-year-old woman if that's your thing. Do it. Skate. No consequences. And if anybody does step up to tell you you can't, he'll be the one going to jail. Houston, Texas. Kim Ogg, DA down there. PR bonds, over 100 people have been killed now in Houston by people who were out on PR bonds because of equity-based sentencing. One case where a guy was already out on PR bonds for 2 previous violent felonies, dumped the whole magazine at a cop. Didn't hit him, but dumped a mag at a cop. Already out on 2 prior violent felonies on PR bonds. So they didn't give him a PR bond for the third one. They set his bond at $5,000. Equity. Yes, I get it. People seeing this don't want to get involved because they're afraid, because they know they're not going to get the same preferential treatment. They know that there will be consequences for them. They know that they have something to lose. Their family, their livelihood, their business, their children. They have something to lose. So yes, that demoralization was pristinely effective. Not anymore. Oh, you still got people that are just dipping their toe in the pond. They're still waiting for the other shoe to drop. But that fear doesn't hold them the way that it used to. Selling the vision of an American dream is materialistic, comfortable existence. They want moral courage in exchange for comfortable living. Yeah, Sonny, and that's part of what I'm speaking to here. It's one thing to be afraid of losing a business that you built and your livelihood, right? And some people are still afraid of that. It's one thing to think about going to prison and being locked away from your family. Most of the people it was so effective on because, man, if I get involved, dude, I might have to like move into a smaller house, bro. Like if they took like dude, I could lose my car. Bro, nah, man. I'm comfy right now in my life, bro. I just like I don't wanna risk it. Big part of the problem. You're right. Jake. That's why every day as a man I have to make sure I'm the most dangerous person I know, not because I'm crazy, I'm more scared of unpredictable people. But the point is you have to make sure that the right thing gets done, even if it means prison. I get it. I get it, man. Yeah, we talked about that. Yeah, there's an example. Should have been a big bond, but it was self-defense. Fact is, it was self-defense. It shouldn't have cost you a dime. But you still had to bond yourself out. Yep. Figuratively speaking, right? Figuratively speaking, right? Right. Yeah, you give them an inch. You give them an inch with the left in particular, trying to dismantle, the West. You give them an inch. Yeah, I was gonna say elbow deep. I was gonna say elbow deep, but that's just a different kind of party. True story. Equity based anything, all of this, all of these things that they've used to demoralize people and keep them afraid, keep good people afraid to do anything. But now you have pushed people, and you knew, I know some of us tried to warn them. He knew it would get to this point. Sooner or later, it was going to get to this point where good people have freaking had enough. And when you feel like you've got nothing to lose, or maybe you just have that moment of moral conviction. Daniel Penny, man, he didn't have any kind of criminal record. He wasn't some wannabe tough guy. But sometimes it's just being in that moment. I guarantee you probably 4 more times over the course of that week before that day, he'd seen some jackass doing some jackass thing to some poor innocent dude on a freaking subway. Because it happens all the time because there's no consequences. He probably walked past people taking a dump on the sidewalk every single day that he has to travel into town. Doesn't get involved. But for whatever reason, he sees women and kids being menaced by a guy, and the guy's screaming about killing people, and he just says, you know what? Not today. Not today. I'm done. While we're here, let's talk about a couple of facts of that. By the way, speaking of bonds, so Alvin Bragg, the DA, 60% of felony cases last year he downgraded to lesser charges. Here, he tried to push for the maximum possible penalty for Daniel Penny, right? Judge Maxwell Wiley attempted to strong-arm the jury into a conviction, dismissing the manslaughter charge to force the deadlocked jury to proceed to a conviction on the homicide count, which the jury was never even supposed to consider without a guilty verdict on manslaughter, okay? So you understand the procedural thing that's going on here? They had to get the jury to say, yes, the burden of proof has been met for manslaughter before they could move on to a conviction on the homicide charge. The homicide charge was what they really wanted. And after that goes to criminal negligence as we can't get him for anything else. The jury deadlocked on the manslaughter charge. And basically the judge braced them All right, fine. Look, we're going to get rid of this manslaughter charge, but you guys need to give me something on the homicide charge. Okay, we'll give you something on the homicide charge. Because even decent people on a jury can only be pushed so far. What are they afraid of? What's the judge got left to do? Threaten the jurors? You either find the way I tell you to find, and we lost all the roots of our judicial system? Some people would say yes. But to me, again, while this isn't jury nullification per se, like the jury didn't go, the facts fit and everything, but we're just going to find him not guilty. It amounts to that. It's more prima facie evidence that they're not going to be pushed anymore. That good people are going to behave like good people behave. And when they see a charge like this that's clearly politically motivated, they're not going to find the guy guilty. Again, not jury nullification per se, but the net effect is the same. Expect more of this going forward. "15-year prison sentence" was what they were going for. I was wrong. I overstated it. I said 18, and it turns out it was a 15-year prison sentence that they were pushing for. You remember all those PR bonds that I was just talking about? Here's another fact about this case. Alvin Bragg, he charged Penny to the full extent of law and required $100,000 in bail for him to remain free during the trial. His bond was $100,000. Okay. This same Alvin Bragg, and I'm reading verbatim here from the Washington Examiner and their stats and their sheet of numbers. $100,000 for Penny to remain free on bail. 87% of his prosecuted peers that year, people charged with violent felonies, whether it's assault or whether it's manslaughter or any of that across the board, the same level of charge that they laid on Penny, 87% of those prosecuted peers were released without bail. PR bonds, like we were talking about. 87%. 2/3 of those were arrested again within the next 2 years. Bragg diverted more than a year of time and resources to prosecute Daniel Penny for subduing a criminal screaming death threats on the subway. Meanwhile, homicides on the subway are up 60%. Gun arrests on the subway are up 83%, and grand larceny arrests are up 24%. They are literally looking for reasons to turn violent people loose while literally looking for reasons to prosecute decent people that stand up and fight back. Sonny nailed it. The only lens that this makes sense looking through is if you want people demoralized and hopelessly dependent on the government. Nothing else makes sense. What, incompetence? What, it's not pointed out to them on a daily basis how none of this is working, how crime is going up, how removal of cash bail doesn't work, how defunding the police creates more crime, how BLM is not a charitable organization, let alone a grassroots organization. They are aware of all of this. So it's not that they don't know. It's not even that they don't care. Because them not caring would be like, yeah, well, we're going to do it anyway. We'll see how it turns out. It's worse. They know how it's going to turn out, and they're doing it with intent. The good news is none of the people are buying it anymore. They've had their hour. They've had their day. They've had their decades. It's done. The first move was the ballot box. Second move was the jury box. And they had better pray to whatever demon child sacrificing Baal temple god they serve that it doesn't get to the cartridge box. They're going to fight this. They're going to fight this all the way out. And when I say they, I mean bad people across the board, from low-level scumbags like Neely, the guy penny choked out on the subway, from low-level scumbags like that, petty criminals, Venezuelan gangs, Muslim terrorists, corporate CEOs peddling poison, and the government officials that enable them. That's going to bring us to our next bullet point. Tinfoil hat people were right again. I'm not going to belabor this for a whole long time because you guys already know. But the House Select Committee released their findings on COVID. I don't need to do a checklist. Suffices to say, because I did a little bit of a checklist. I did a little bit of a checklist last week. Suffices to say, Congress came back with their report, and the tinfoil hat crowd was right about literally everything. It was not natural origins. It was not masks were completely ineffective. The lockdowns were ineffective. Everything that we said, we are 100% vindicated. Don't expect apologies. Don't expect apologies from your Stasi Karen neighbors. Don't expect it. But it does feel pretty good to be vindicated, does it not? Just keep moving forward, man. Now is not the time to thump our chest and go, ha, 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 ha. We got too much work to do. Like I said last week, we've got too much work to do. And we're going to have a lot of work ahead of us because they're going to be fighting back. They're going to be fighting back hard. Tinfoil hat crowd was right again, but let's examine what's going on with regard to contagions while we're here. And again, I'm really not going to spend a whole lot of time on this because we already know. The weirdest thing happened. You guys familiar with Peter Hotez? I showed you a picture of him, I think, during the opener. Let me see if I can pull that back up. Where are you, Pete? Where are you, Pete? Yeah, this little scumbag. He's a total shill. Where you probably know him from is, he was doing the vaccine shill thing during the so-called pandemic, and he was one of the spokespersons that all of the establishment news outlets had on as the subject matter expert. He got challenged, and he tweeted something bad against Joe Rogan, and Rogan fired back, and he said, look, man, why don't I have you on the program? Well, you have my number. You can have me on anytime you want. All right, cool. Joe Rogan basically offered him because he said, dude, you're full of shit, is what Joe told him. Basically, bro, you're full of shit. I will have you on, and I'm going to have RFK on the program, and I will give $100,000 to the charity of your choice just for you to come on and debate RFK. He wouldn't do it. Another wealthy individual put another $150,000 down next to that. So now it's $250,000. You got $250,000 to the charity of your choice, Peter, for you to come on and debate RFK. Public forum, no time limit. You get to, here it is. We're open it. Not only are we going to open it for you, give you an audience in the tens of millions to plead your case, but we're going to give $250,000 to the charity of your choice. And then the pot got bigger. I think at one point it was upwards of $500,000 because people kept throwing it in. They wanted to see this guy. Okay, you walk it like you talk it. But they won't. They're afraid. Just that simple. They won't engage in any format where they don't absolutely control the narrative. That's who these people are. In any case, he was on one of those platforms the other day. It was MSNBC with Nicole Wallace. And you guys should look up this interview. I'm going to read from this. This is Killer Croc's tweet on the subject. But yeah, he sums it up pretty much exactly as it went down. Dr. Peter Hotez recently graced the screens of MSNBC with Nicole Wallace. And let me tell you, it was like watching a game show, but the prize was a new virus. boldly proclaimed, and he said this, by the way, verbatim, we have some big picture stuff coming down the pike starting on January 21st. Then he started running off a list: SARS, bird flu, dengue, yellow fever, stuff that you hadn't even heard of. What was the other? Orapalche, monkeypox, throwing back and forth. No rebuttal, no eyebrow raising, nothing. It's right there on MSNBC. And he's talking about these viruses we've got these viruses and they're all coming down the pike on January 21st. So we need to start looking at that. That's oddly specific, isn't it? Oddly specific. January the 21st, he could have said first of the year, next cold and flu season. January the 21st. Oddly specific. Seems like there's something happening on the 21st of January. I'm old, I forget stuff, but I don't know. Somebody want to check the calendar for me, but yeah. Yes, the damnedest thing. This is all coming down the pike on the 21st of January. Let me tell you what is going on right now. These are things you need to be worried about. These are the last two bullet points that I had. There's desperation right now with these guys, and they're all trying to get out. But they're also trying to hang on to power, and they're trying to sabotage things on their way out the door. Here's what's going on in Africa right now, and this is an urgent warning's been issued to the UK and any travels to Africa. They've been calling it the bleeding eye virus. What it is, it's a strain of Marburg. You guys ready to play the Reverend Bart drinking game? Filovirus. Yeah. Okay. Everybody take a shot. Filovirus. Everybody take a shot. Thankfully, it's not airborne. But if you Google Marburg right now, just put in the word Marburg. Urgent warning issued to UK Africa travelers. Deadly outbreak of Marburg, and they're calling it the bleeding eye virus. They're issuing travel advisories to different African republics, things like that. A lot going on. And when he's mentioning all of these specifically, including Orapalche, which I hadn't even heard of, and trust me, I'm no newbie when it comes to this stuff. Orapalche is... I'm going to have to do a deep dive on that. But you guys, especially you guys who have been to my place, you've seen my bookshelf, that whole section devoted to world-ending viruses. But he's talking about bird flu, and he's talking about SARS, and all these things that are seriously coming down the pike on January the 21st. Worth being alarmed about, isn't it? He said the quiet part out loud because we all saw what happened with the COVID pandemic. And now that this report has been released, the things that we said were brought about politically as a result of the pandemic. It's all been confirmed now. So we're back to the whole thing about these people in these high positions, whether it's with pharmaceutical companies or whether it's with government, having to take a look at the new paradigm that we're in right now. Assuming it wasn't an ordered hit. Okay, and again, that's a big assumption right now. Everything that I'm saying is speculation until we get it nailed down. We don't know. Assuming this was literally a John Q gone bad, this Luigi fellow, we're in a new paradigm. We're in a completely new paradigm now. Where regardless of what somebody might have to lose, people are not going to go through this again. We made the statement at the ballot box. They're trying to hang up the results of what we did at the ballot box. Okay, we made it too big to rig. We won, but they're hanging up every single cabinet appointment. The rhinos that are part of that Senate and House majority are going to undermine things from the inside out. The Lindsey Grahams of the world, the Murkowskis of the world. JFK said that people who make peaceful revolution impossible make violent revolution inevitable. There are more than enough historical examples of this. And again, I'm not that guy waving the pom-poms. Woohoo, let's shoot them dead in the streets and drag them out. But what I am telling you is, you can expect it. It would be better. You know what? I'm even okay with the damn pardons. I really am. I'm even okay with the damn pardons so long as you get the hell out of the way. But compromise is foreign to these people. They're going to give blanket pardons to everybody on the way out the door and think they're going to skate with no accountability. I disagree. It would be better if the judicial system found them. Let me say that again for clarity. It would be better for them if the judicial system gave them that accountability. Because if it does not, we are in a completely new paradigm about what people are willing to do. I'm not cheerleading that. I'm not even necessarily advocating that. I'm reminded of a Sam Kinison bit. And this is very tasteless, but because Kinison, he said, I don't support beating women. I don't support beating women. I understand it. I feel that way about shooting CEOs. I don't support vigilante justice against corporate CEOs or anybody like that, but I freaking understand it. If you refuse to provide accountability, that is part of this social contract I keep hearing about, isn't it? We agree to compromise on certain things, and in exchange for that, there's accountability and equal justice across the board, and that's that social contract we keep hearing about. It hasn't been true forever, and we all know it. But when it is this egregious, at some point, people are going to say enough, and they are. On the soapbox, they are pushing back and speaking truths that they were told they could no longer speak. Speak that truth and you will be canceled. Speak that truth and you will lose your job. Speak that truth and you will be ostracized in your community. And they're stepping back up to the soapbox. Thanks again to Saint Elon. And they are reestablishing control over the soapbox. The ballot box, they were told, even from people that we knew, why bother voting? They're just going to steal it again. Just going to steal again anyway, bro. Why are you bothering voting, man? Don't show up. Neil. Aaron. Just going to steal it again, bro. Why even bother? We took back control of the ballot box. We were told that we had to sit by and watch lawlessness carry on because our so-called leaders in the judicial system, the prosecutors, the DAs, and the people that appointed them, we were told that the jury box was out of our hands. This is just the way it is. Bad people do things and they skate. Good people stand up for themselves. They get prosecuted. That's just the way it is. And in the Daniel Penny case, and in the Kyle Rittenhouse case, and in more cases to come as the weeks move forward, we said no. So we are now taking back control of the jury box. So now we can flex in the soapbox. We moved hard on them at the ballot box. We are taking the jury box back. But make no mistake, we've still got that cartridge box sitting right over here. One follows the other. Are you starting to get it? One follows the other. Are you starting to get it? The more you push down one, the more we're going to flex on you with another. So how about, open up your brains really, really big now. How about we get back to what the founders intended? How about we get back to Western cultural and moral standards? Did he just use the M word? Yes, I did. Western cultural and moral norms. And let the decent people resume living in their decency. Because you're not in charge anymore. You degenerate Luciferian pricks are not in charge anymore. You can hang on for dear life. And we're watching them. They're leaving that sinking ship, boy. Everybody wants that pardon on the way out the door. That's how pure they were. We're so scandal free that everybody needs a 10-year blanket pardon on the way out the door for stuff we haven't been accused of yet. That's how clean we are. You're not in charge anymore. Hope that accountability finds you through the jury box. Hope that accountability finds you through the ballot box. Because it is far, far better for you to face the prospect of losing an election or facing a criminal charge than what is going to happen to you if you persist in driving this forward. If you've got a pit bull and you know he's a pit bull and you know he comes from a bloodline with a violent temperament and you mistreat him and you don't feed him so well and you constantly leave him out in the cold and you keep tightening up his chain and you put him in some really unlivable conditions, sooner or later he's going to tear off your freaking leg. Now, you can lament that because it kind of sucks losing a leg to the jaws of another living creature. You can cry about it. You can curse about it. You can hate that dog and every other pit bull on the planet about it. What you don't get to do is act like you wonder why it happened. A CEO gets shot, streets of New York City in broad effing daylight. A company known for doing everything that it could to pay out on claims that it knew were legitimate to hang on to their profit margins. You can cry that this guy got shot. You can lament that this guy got shot. You can have spirited debates about what this means about the face of accountability in the United States over why this guy got shot. What you don't get to do is wonder why. You can leave a border open and let Venezuelan gangs take over entire apartment complexes in big cities. And then bad things happen to you. You lost at the ballot box. Oh, you got off lucky. Don't wonder why. And if you are one of those bad people that's just been running roughshod because you had it on Easy Street, you scumbag maggot mob in Portland that just walk into places and walk out with high-end electronics and high-end e-bikes and just walk right up into people's houses and steal their stuff because you knew there were not going to be any consequences. Those gravy train days are over, my smelly patchouli clad little friend. Those days are over. The days of skating with no accountability for policy for government officials, over. The day for scumbags doing whatever they wanted without fear of prosecution, over. The day of scumbags, even if they were afraid of being prosecuted, not worried about being stopped in the act because no one was going to defend themselves and no good people were going to come to the aid of other good people. Those days are over, my friend. And if you lament decent people pushing decent cultural standards being back in charge again, you and I have nothing further to discuss. It is a good day to be an American. It is a good day to be a Christian living in the United States of America. It is a good day looking forward to be a human being blessed to live in an industrialized Western nation that is returning to its cultural roots. I look at the world. I look at the country first because this is home. This is where I live. But it's happening all over the world, man. In Germany, they're pushing back. Clem, you're with me? In France, they're pushing back. In Italy, they're pushing back. Poland pushing back. Romania. I'm gonna talk about this real quick just for Roman's sake. Right? See what happened in Romania? The people wanted a hard right government. They completely annulled the elections. They're going to make them do it over again because the globalists and the paymasters in Brussels for the EU didn't want that to happen. You understand? I think maybe this is the perfect closer. Roman, I think that's the perfect closer. We're talking about accountability. We're talking about letting the peaceful revolution happen rather than making the violent revolution inevitable. I don't think there's a better example than what just happened in Romania. The people say, we want this. Best that you let them have it. Aren't you the ones talking about how much you're interested in saving democracy? Is that what we keep hearing from y'all? How about you let them have it? They wanted a hard right government. Best that you give them the hard right government. The people of America want to return to traditional values. Best that you give them traditional values. Oh, it's a Handmaid's Tale. No, it's the Handmaid's Tale. Because you can only murder your baby in 47 states. Yeah, dude, totally. Put on the red dress and the white bonnet, you freaks. When people want that return to tradition, best that you give it to them. And particularly for Romania. I'll tell you a little something about Romania. When they've had enough, you want to talk about accountability? Best that you go through the ballot box and the jury box and the soap box. Because when it comes to the cartridge box, the last time the Romanian people got tired of leadership that was basically telling them to screw themselves and working against their interests and taking their wealth, the last time the Romanians got tired of that, they dragged the prime minister and his wife out into a public square, machine gunned them to death on television. Wait for it, on Christmas. So I think Romania is the perfect place to close on that. The people have spoken. From the soapbox to the ballot box, now to the jury box, they have spoken. You continue to ignore them at the peril of the cartridge box, and may God have mercy on your mortal soul. I am the Reverend. That's the gospel. Appreciate you guys being here. Bit of a tear, but hey, it is what it is. Good things are happening on all fronts. I'm going to close with a prayer real quick. Lord God, there are people here who are watching the program who are hurting. People in my circle, and maybe even not in my circle, who are out there who are hurting. Bring them to the light, Lord. Bring them to the light. My prayers go out to them, that you could find it in your divine plan and your divine guidance to bring these people home, to alleviate their suffering as much as is possible within the confines of the divine plan. As always, thy will, not mine, be done. I pray for my people, Lord. I pray for the West. I pray for this nation. But moreover, I thank you for the bright signs of light that we are seeing, this turn, this cultural tipping point that we are all getting to witness with our own eyes. How blessed are we to be alive in such a time as this? That all the efforts the enemy made, and he is at the root of all of this, everything from the political to the social to the media driven to the academia driven, all of these deceptions are lies, and he is the father of lies. That Luciferian distraction is at the center of all of this, Lord, and to see it upended in real time, to see that lie that got sold to us, that had us doubting ourselves, that had us doubting our future, that had us walking around in doubt and fear, to see that being upended in real time and people coming to the light of truth. Better that they come to the light of your truth, but if we can get them halfway there just to come to the light of truth, Lord, we'll take it. We'll take it. All the lies of the deceiver are being upended. People are coming home. People are coming to the light. People are finding the wisdom and the strength and the love and the light and the joy. And it is a beautiful thing to behold, Lord. I thank you so deeply for being alive in this day and age. What a beautiful thing to be a part of. What a beautiful thing to witness. What a beautiful thing to behold, Lord. And there are going to be adversities that come with that, and I give you thanks as always for those adversities, because the adversities not only shape us to be stronger for the fight, but throw it into even starker contrast and allow us to truly revel in the joy when it comes. If we didn't know what the adversity and the hardship felt like, we couldn't fully appreciate the joy. And Lord, some of us have been down so long that the bottom looked like up, and we're finally getting to experience that joy and see others who have been down so long the bottom looked like up experience that joy. It's a great awakening, Lord, and I am so blessed to be a part of that. For all my brothers and sisters in Christ, I know that they are feeling that blessing every single day, Lord. So help us find the steel in our spines for the fight, because we still got a lot more work to do. Dust those calluses off our hands, get busy and get to work for the kingdom, Lord. We're going to lay it out. We're going to lay it out. We are going to make this happen because we are admonished to do so. We're going to walk in the light of his truth and the truth of his light, and we are going to do magnificent things for the kingdom, Lord. Omnia ad regnum, all things for the kingdom, Lord. I pray in the name of the risen Christ, whose blood bought our salvation and redemption, and whom I ever serve. Amen. I love y'all, man. Love y'all. You guys are fantastic. You really are. Appreciate you being here. Look, guys, if you can toss me something, if you feel like tossing me something, there's nothing mandatory about it. I'm going to pass around that digital collection plate like I always do every week. But if you can toss me a little something, that'd be great. I'm on Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, all that good stuff. If you can. But if you can't, I get it, because reluctantly we're still in a Biden-Harris economy for about another month right now. So I totally get that. But what you can do is you can put me up on your own platform, repost a sermon on one of your own boards, man. Your Facebook profile, something. Just email it to somebody. Let them know, man. This fat, toothless crane operator with a few opinions, and he gets every weekend likes to rant rave for a couple hours. Tell them about the program, man. Check it out. Push us up in the algorithm, as Roman Spawner reminding us. But here's what you can do, not for me, but for yourselves, guys. This is all about something you can do for yourselves that'll help me out as well, because we're all pulling together as a family. Talking about, like Brother Stone says, live the three, baby. Hashtag live the three. Live the three. What is this guy talking about? Talking about the three prime directives, man. What are the prime directives? Signal in a world full of noise. They'll try to bury you in the noise, make you think there's nothing but the noise. You have to be that signal of truth and light that punches through all that noise that they try to bury you with. You got to be light in a world full of darkness. Not just the light that shines through that long-acting darkness, but to be able to punch through the fog of that darkness to the other side. They'll try to bury you with the darkness, demoralize you, dehumanize you, emasculate you with the darkness, have you thinking there's nothing out there but darkness. You got to give them the double barrel, bring it on home, and say, no, I will be that light in the darkness. Which brings us to the third and most important, the prime directive, the iron rule, being strength in a world full of weakness. Why strength? And I'm not just talking about this kind of strength. It's got to be here. It's got to be here. It's got to be here. Because without strength, none of the rest of it matters. Without strength, you won't have the punch to get that signal through the noise. Without strength, you won't have the endurance to carry that light through the darkness, or the power to just punch it through to the other side. So strength above all. And when you pray, strength, clarity, discernment. Because the tricks of the deceiver out there looking to undermine you, man. You got to have the clarity and discernment to know what the truth is, and the strength to push through and fight for it. Not for yourselves, for the kingdom. I love y'all, man. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Stay strong, chin down, knuckles up, ready for the fight. Ready for the fight. We're in it, and we're in it to win it. God bless y'all, man. See you next week. Thank you. Love y'all, man.